Lee, the trouble with cliches is that they're always bloody true. It doesn't seem like a year ago that we were on the skyline of London discussing Radiant Orchid. Here we are 1 year on, discussing the new Pantone Color of the Year 2015, Marsala. Now, it's not such a jump from Radiant Orchid to Marsala as it was from green, the emerald green, to Radiant Orchid. Tell me, how did you get to Marsala? Wonderful name, isn't it? It's fortified wine, but it's also Indian spice, huh?
Yes, I love the spiciness of it. Well, you're right, David. It is in that same more emotional concept of color, and yet we felt it was time for something that spoke to people's real needs, the need for nurturing, the need for something that was more robust, that had a life force that was intrinsic to it. And the most interesting thing about Marsala, I think, is the fact that even though it has this grounded influence, this kind of earthy undertone that we see in this wine red, at the same time, it has a sophistication. So there's something very versatile about the color.
Talking about this grounded feeling of a color, of course, I'm tempted to go straight into the brown story. Now, we haven't had browns for a long, long time. And of course, suddenly we've got this whole 1970s nostalgia, the whole brown of furnishings coming back. We've got the whole suede story coming this year, hippies and suedes and rest. Is brown an important part of your thinking? Was this part of your thinking about the choice of color here?
Well, we always look at the undertone of a color. It's not just what we see on the surface, but what's underneath that color. And the brown is definitely an undertone to Marsala. There is that need for rootedness. You know, we always look at what the public is telling us they want, what they're seeking. And at this point in time, we feel that that idea of nurturing, doing something that feeds ourselves, feeds our mind, feeds our body, feeds our soul. And we feel that a color like Marsala fits all of those categories.
That's a spiritual talk, but let's talk about product. Do you think it's a colour that has an immediate appeal? As soon as I say, ooh, Marsala, wow, or like red or blue, or it's sophisticated. Is it going to take time to get used to it for people, or do you think it will be like, love it, do it?
I think it's going to be a color that's going to happen very quickly, because particularly with women, they relate to it all the time as a lipstick color, blush color, and now we're even touting it as use on the eyelid, which is a different usage of it. But at the same time, with men, if you were to present a man with a Marsala tie, or even socks, or a pair of sneakers, I don't think he'd have a problem with that at all. So I think it's a color that does have versatility, both for women and for men.
Okay, Lee, let's start with the fashion, of course. Now, when I see Marsala, I automatically see texture. Am I being stupid, or does it work for plains as well as texture? Because texture's around so much at the moment in fabric, pattern, everywhere you look.
It's definitely a color that will lend itself well to texture. Because of the strong undertone of brown, and yet it's essentially a wine red, you have all kinds of variation going on within the color to begin with. So when you think of that in terms of texture, I think it will play wonderful tricks on the eye. I think we're going to be looking for variations of the color in plush textures in particular. Not to say that we won't see it in matte treatments. Of course, it's lovely in matte, but I do think that you're going to see it a lot in your treatments that have a great deal of texture.
So let's talk about fabric then. I mean, my first thinking is, oh, this is really like raw silk, and it's really rustic tweed. Those are the kind of colours that really come to me straight away. But let's talk about it in gloss. Do you see it as a really glossy colour? You talked about it in lipstick earlier, but do you see it as a gloss colour, as a shiny colour, or a powdery colour?
No, I do see it as a shiny color as well. I think that there's so much opportunity today as far as wearable technology is concerned. You think about that even in a pair of headphones or in a piece of jewelry that's high-tech. Something that has that kind of experience of something a little bit more futuristic, and I do think the color can carry that message as well.
And how about around the house? Do you see it around every part of the house, from the bedroom to the living room? I can see it in the living room, of course, in scatters and upholstery, but everywhere? Bathroom as well?
I see it everywhere. Bathroom, it might be a little bit heavy, but I do see it in accessories in the bathroom. Think about plush toweling.
Yes, I was just saying.
Oh, a cozy,
wrap ourselves in a...
Oh, yes, a cozy robe, something to wrap yourself in when you want to feel warm. However, I do see it in one of my favorite usages for color now, and that is painting a wall in this fantastic color, or maybe even 4 walls in this color as far as the dining room is concerned. A great appetite stimulant After all, Marsala is all about some wonderful food
Liquid
or spice.
and solid.
Exactly,
Yes,
exactly. So a dining room and or a kitchen, it would be a fabulous place to use a color like Marsala.
So of course in graphics it's the same story. It goes for any surface, it goes for any application of ink or color. Let's talk about harmonies. What kind of colors do you see going with Marsala?
I love to see it as a layered color. Now, obviously when I use the word layered, we think of makeup right away. But layering it as far as a paint color is concerned, or as far as any texture is concerned, layering it with other metallics in particular, like the bronzy tones, the umbers, anything that has that brown coppery feel is obviously going to be a natural. But I think it will also work very well with complementary colors, colors that are opposite on the color wheel. So if we look into the teals, the blue-greens in particular, I think you're going to see some amazing combinations.
I can imagine.
Yes, lovely with oranges as well, because it's closely related and yet different enough.
Yes, and you've got the hard and the soft, you've got the bright and the low key. It's absolutely brilliant. Lee, thank you so much for this. You were brilliantly right with emerald green, again with radiant orchid. I'm looking forward to a year of drinking and smelling and wearing and eating Marsala.
Thank you.